Yo, love doing these as we get set for the 2021 NFL draft. Yes, we're just 3 days away from this thing. Rumors are flying, mock drafts are being finalized out there, and it gives us a few more nights to hop on Facebook and talk. Leave it. I want this to be an interactive comment section. Your thoughts, your comments on what I'm throwing out there, what you're thinking as we're just a few days away from the first round of the 2021 NFL draft. Eagles, of course, have the number 12 pick for now. I want to start with this. So Todd McShay, we know McShay, Mel Kiper, the insiders, mock draft guys from ESPN. So McShay put out today the latest buzz he's been hearing, something really interesting here, and it kind of gives a glimpse into how the Eagles could go either way on Thursday night. And I think it's probably the least likely at this point is just stay locked in at number 12. So McShay today said, quote, "A lot of people around the league believe the Eagles could be a wild card in the first round. The Eagles are apparently tossing out feelers to quarterback needy teams that might want to move up to 12 if one of the top 5 quarterbacks is still on the board when it's the Eagles' turn to draft. But I've also heard there's some interest in Justin Fields within the organization." So the idea is the Eagles could be saying, hey, teams, you want to come to 12? We'll move back again. Or the Eagles could be thinking, maybe we like Justin Fields, move up for another quarterback in the first round. Here's my perspective. I'm not moving up for Justin Fields. I don't want Justin Fields. I'd rather roll with Jalen Hurts. I'm not in the mood for Justin Fields and to get another quarterback to bring in here. I like Jalen Hurts. I want to give him a chance. And I think, look, realistically, if the Eagles really wanted Justin Fields, they would have just stayed at number 6. They could have had him at number 6. Why move down from 6 to 12 and then hope he's there and jump back up? It seems silly. But from where I sit tonight, 3 nights before the start of the NFL draft, if I had to choose trade back or to trade up, I would trade back. Get to number 12, see what's there. I love J.C. Horn, the corner out of South Carolina. I would love to take him. I'm not in love with the wide receivers. I'll pass on those guys. But if I get to number 12, and let's say one of the quarterbacks is still there, maybe Justin Fields slips, maybe Mac Jones slips if the Niners don't take him at 3 and they go Trey Lance. One of those guys is there. And a team like the Bears at 20 or a team like the Patriots at 15 is calling and wants to move up to get him, I'll listen. Because the teams that overpay in the NFL are quarterback-needy teams. So I would trade back again. I know it's like, oh, my goodness, the Eagles had the 6th pick in the draft. Now we're going to move all the way back to 15 or whatever, 19 or 20. If the Eagles could keep stockpiling good picks and have a lot of ammunition to move around the draft board this year and next year, however they want, I'm totally fine with that. Plus, next year's draft, let's just say it for a second, Eagles trade out at 12 and they get 20 and next year's Bears 1 or whatever. Next year's draft is going to have so much more certainty. The end of this draft, the mid to end of this draft, is going to be so kind of lackluster because players had a chance to go back to school after the pandemic year. So I would rather trade back than trade up with one exception. One exception. If Kyle Pitts is there, tight end out of Florida, and I do think there's a chance, small one, but let's just play it out, right? It's going to be 1, Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be 2, Zach Wilson. 3, it's probably now going to be Trey Lance. I don't know, Trey Lance or Mac Jones, one of those 2. 4, I imagine Atlanta is going to take Kyle Pitts. But for sake of argument, let's say Atlanta says, you know what? Matt Ryan's getting up there in age. We're not going to be in this position for a long time. Or they could take a quarterback right there and just have him behind Matt Ryan. Or a team like Denver could jump up to take a quarterback there, Fields or whoever. So it could go 1, 2, 3, 4, quarterback, possible. At number 5, the Bengals could take Penei Sewell, offensive lineman from Oregon. At number 6, Miami could say, we'll take a Jamar Chase. And then all of a sudden, Kyle Pitts, who many people think is the best non-quarterback in this draft, the tight end of Florida, he's there. Archbishop Wood kid, local kid, starred Florida. I think he's going to be a great player in the NFL. He's there at 7. If Detroit's listening to offers, I would trade back up for Kyle Pitts. But other than Pitts, I'd rather stay at 12 or move back. And as far as the Justin Fields thing goes, where are you guys on this? Would you want the Eagles to draft Justin Fields, move up for Justin Fields, or trade for him? Or if he's there at 12, take him. I'm not enamored with Justin Fields. Good college quarterback. It's not enough for me to take another quarterback instead of trying to build this team and giving Jalen Hurts a chance. All right, Facebook Live, Facebook comments here on the 94 WIP page. I love doing these. I love getting your comments, your suggestions, your whatever, right? Your takes on the Eagles in this situation. Trade back, trade up, and the whole Justin Fields talk, which kind of came out of left field today, it just doesn't make any sense to me. If the Eagles truly wanted Justin Fields, they'd have the 6th. They had the 6th pick. It was theirs. And the way this is playing out, it looks like Lawrence, Wilson, either Lance or Jones, and Fields is probably, I think Adam Schefter today said that it's like a 85 to 90% chance that Justin Fields is there at number 6. So that was the Eagles' pick. I don't buy it. Like this all comes off to me as total smokescreen stuff, total draft stuff that you hear a couple days before the draft because teams are trying to leverage each other. I don't buy for a second that the Eagles actually want Justin Fields, because if they did, they probably could have had him at number 6. It would have been easy. We wouldn't have known until draft night. It would have been seamless. Just take the quarterback you want, and we'd all yell about it probably because what's the plan at quarterback? But it would be like, okay, they identified a quarterback the new coaching staff wants. I get it. To move back in the NFL draft from 6 to 12 and then to hope he's there or trade up for him, it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Let's take some comments, some questions here on the WIP Facebook page. Michael said Micah Parsons at 12. Look, I like Micah Parsons. He's a tremendous linebacker prospect. Dominated at Penn State. He could blitz, come off the edge, stop the run. He does it all. The Eagles don't take linebackers in the first round. I mean, I'm going to need to see it to believe it. I don't even know if he's on their radar. Like that's really at the point where I think their feeling on linebacker is it's just not a position we value in the first round. John said, how are we going to outthink himself? Well, he might. I mean, I'd rather have a thinker than a non-thinker as my general manager, but it does feel like, there's a lot of different, balls in the air, I should say, at the NovaCare complex. Like if we do this, we do that. I just hope, when they traded back and they went to 12, I just hope they looked at it and said, if 5 quarterbacks are going to go ahead of us, that means 7 players. One of those 7 players has to be there. And I hope they have their list in order. Boom, 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 boom. Of the 7 players, right? It's Penei Sewell, it's Jamar Chase, it's Kyle Pitts, it's Patrick Surtain, it's J.C. Horn, whoever, right? Whoever the 7 are. I'm going to imagine Parsons not on the list because he's a linebacker. But whoever the 7 are, I hope they have their list. They've got it broken down. It's solidified. And they get to the draft night, and when they're up at 12, they got their guy. Like whoever it is, even if every one of the other ones went ahead of them, they got one of those guys. If you move down to 12 and you guess the way I guess, I think everyone's guessing, a bunch of quarterbacks are going, you got to get one of your 7. It's math. You got to get one of your 7. Antonio said, what I think bothers me the most is how they have not had any official meetings with any top prospects. I think that means they are more likely to move back because they feel the ones they really wanted were not going to be there. Well, let me say this about what they wanted, what they knew. I do think, and I know it's not the popular thing right now, but I do think if the draft plays out a certain way, we're going to have to give Howie Roseman some credit. Because it seemed like the day they traded down from 6 to 12, a lot of the reaction was, can you believe Howie Roseman just passed up on the chance to get Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts? It's special players. And he may have. We'll see how it plays out. But if I had to guess right now, just right now, my mock draft guess in this moment, my guess would be number 1, Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, Zach Wilson. Number 3, I'm going to guess Mac Jones. I'm going to say the Niners stay with Mac Jones, but it doesn't matter. Let's just say Jones or Lance. So 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks. 4, I'm going to guess Atlanta goes Kyle Pitts. 5, I'm going to guess Cincinnati goes Jamar Chase. So I'm going to guess that at 6, neither Chase nor Pitts were there. So if that's the case, we got to give Howie credit because then the trade down, which was good value, I mean, they won that deal. And also those guys might have not been there anyway. So if that's the case, we can't be mad at the trade down if those were the guys you really wanted. Mike said Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker out of Notre Dame, way before Mike Parsons. He is a beast. I love him. I need a soundbite. I don't know if you heard it. I played it on my show. Talking about he brought up the city of Philadelphia and how tough you got to be to play there. And he just sounded like a guy we'd love if he was playing in Philadelphia. And I don't think the Eagles are going to draft him. Maybe if he slips to the second round. I doubt it, though. Chad said the draft value chart says you can move up, give up more by, you can move up to 7 by giving up number 12, 3rd, and 4th round pick. Yeah, so let's go with that. So if Kyle Pitts somehow falls to 7, I would do that deal, right? Basically, Chad is saying trade value chart says you give a 3 and a 4, you could jump from 12 to 7. I would give up a 3 and a 4 to jump from 12 to 7 to get Kyle Pitts. That's how much I love that guy. I think he's going to be a superstar in the NFL. Kyle said, how do you feel about Caleb Farley, the corner out of Virginia Tech? I believe he is the best corner in the draft this year, and I understand he's been hurt in the past. But what do you think if all three receivers, Pitts and the quarterbacks, and Horn and Surtain and Sewell are gone? So three receivers would be Chase, Waddle, and Smith. Pitts is 4. Quarterbacks are 5. That's 9. Horn, Surtain, Sewell. So all those guys can't be on, unless my math is wrong. I think one of those guys has to be there in the top 12. But as far as Caleb Farley goes, I like Caleb Farley. You could make a case he's the best cover guy in the draft. Like his tape and what he did in college at Virginia Tech, he's a really good player. He was an ex-receiver, so he's got those skills, those wide receiver skills before he moved over to corner, kind of like Richard Sherman. A lot of great corners have had receiver background. I just, to take a player with a back surgery issue at 12, especially after what happened with Sidney Jones, like they got to nail this pick. I wouldn't take Caleb Farley. It just terrifies me. And especially in a year where you have less medical information, there was no combine. I think it is really, really tricky to take a player that has had that kind of injury and those kind of injuries. Because look, if you're wrong about Caleb Farley and he gets hurt again or he can't be the player that you want him to be, I mean, you're in trouble. I mean, you can't make that up, right? You can't make up another first-round pick that could be down the drain. Leave your comments, suggestions, questions about the draft here. A couple more things I wanted to touch on in our draft show tonight. So I was reading a story today, and it was a good one. Paul Domowitch of the Philadelphia Inquirer had a story about draft picks and how many the Eagles have, but a bulk of the picks this year are in later rounds, and how people around the NFL this year are terrified of 6th and 7th round picks, even fifth round picks, because not only is it difficult normal times to hit on one of those picks, right? It's rare, whatever the percentage is, 5%, 10%, to get a good player with a pick that low. But this year it's even harder because they didn't really get to scout like normal. They didn't get to have scouts on the road watching games. There was no combine. Less players are actually in the draft because they allowed players to go back because they lost a year of eligibility last year. So it's just a watered down back half of the draft. So the article basically was like, hey, Eagles probably aren't going to make all their picks. What are they going to do with these late picks? I think the Eagles need to be totally and completely aggressive with all their later picks. Package them in trades. Like if they're in the 3rd round and they want to move up a few spots and they could use a 5th and a 6th to do it, boom, do it. Like the guys they really want to get, I hope they get. And there is something about strength in numbers and throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and making sure you have some late picks, hopefully 1 or 2 sticks. That's great and that's important. But if the Eagles could trade picks away and kind of move around and shuffle the draft board around using their picks, I think that would be great. Shay McFadden said, doesn't matter how many draft picks you can get by trading back if you don't actually get good players. Haven't had a Pro Bowl or draft pick in forever. They haven't, and they need to do better there. But just because you're drafting a player high doesn't mean he's going to be a good player either, right? Like we see that every year where guys go 15 or 20 and they're better than the guy that goes 7th or 8th. You just need to get good players. So I think the key to this, beyond the Eagles' issue scouting and developing, they need to figure out the draft board on draft night and read the room. So let me give you an example. I like Kwity Paye, defensive end out of Michigan. I think he's going to be a really good pro in the NFL, and I would have no problem if the Eagles took him in the 1st round. But here's what Howie Roseman has to know that you or I can't, and it's his job to know this. So the Eagles are at 12, right? Let's say the Eagles are on the clock at 12. J.C. Horn just went a couple picks before, the guy maybe they wanted, right? So now it's Kwity Paye's next up on the board. And let's say the Eagles like Kwity Paye, though they're very comfortable drafting Kwity Paye, but the Patriots call. They're at 15. And they say, hey, we want to move up for Devontae Smith, who the Eagles don't want to take, just in my pretend scenario. And the Eagles say, all right, what are you going to give us? And they say, we'll give you a 2nd-round pick to drop down 3 spots. We want Smith right now. We don't want someone else to jump us. So the Eagles have to figure out, not is that a good value for the trade? Yeah, that's 2nd-round pick for 3 picks. It's great value. The Eagles have to figure out, will someone else take Kwity Paye in between, right? 14, 15, whatever, in between them. And if the answer in their mind is no, we're going to get him at 15, then drop down. Like, as long as you're getting the player you want, you should move around the board. You should stockpile more picks. The problem is when you move down and you lose the player. Like, that's the doomsday scenario they cannot have happening. Like, that would drive me absolutely bonkers if that happened. And I don't think it will. I mean, I think the Eagles and Howie, they're throwing out these smoke signals and smoke screens. I think they have an idea of who they want. I hope it's J.C. Horn. Like, I just hope Thursday night I'm watching J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. But leave in the comment section. I want to know, just a quickly, I want to know how many of you would be happy if the Eagles traded up to get Justin Fields. Because Todd McShay today of ESPN put it out that some in the organization may like Justin Fields, and he might be slipping a little bit here. I don't want a quarterback. I mean, I don't love any of these quarterbacks. Lawrence is obviously the top guy. Wilson's got a big arm. I think Lance has a chance. I think whoever goes to the Niners will end up a good quarterback because, Shanahan's that good. But I want to give Jalen Hurts a chance, and I don't want to draft Justin Fields. Not that I think he's going to be a bad quarterback. He has some skills, obviously. Played great in some of the playoff games. But I want to give Jalen Hurts a chance to be the Eagles quarterback, see what he's got, see what he could do. And if he shows it to you, boy, you got a young quarterback that's cheap to build around, and you've used this first-round pick on someone that could help the team, build a team. So I'm out on the idea of Justin Fields, even if he slips. Do you guys want Justin Fields? Leave in the comments a yes or no. Antonio said, Pitts, Smith, and Horn are the only picks I want in the top 15. Pitts is like the pipe. He's the dream, right? He's the dream scenario. He is, I think, of all the non-quarterbacks, he's the best guy in this draft. I could see him being a superstar tight end that could play on the outside too. Great player. Aniel said no to Justin Fields. See, Aniel gets it. No, we're not doing the Justin Fields. Antonio said, with recent reports regarding Ertz not being an Eagle by the end of the draft, if you could pinpoint a spot where it happens, where do you think Ertz gets moved in the draft? I'll throw this one out. Here's a guess on Zach Ertz and how the Eagles could use him to move. Remember back in 2016, Howie Roseman used players to move up in the draft, right? He inherited that Chip Kelly roster. It was all disjointed and it was terrible. And instead of just trading the players away just independently, he used them within the context of the draft. So I think he used Kiko Alonso and Byron Maxwell to help move from 13 to 8. That was the Carson Wentz move up. He also used DeMarco Murray at some point. I think he moved up in the 4th round, so swapped 4th round picks with the Titans, and they got a higher pick, and the Titans dropped back, and Murray was in the mix. I think that's how they're going to use Zach Ertz. So instead of them just getting a 4th or a 5th round pick for Zach Ertz, here's one. Let's say the Eagles are on the board at 37, 2nd round, and let's, for argument's sake, say they go corner or offense or defensive line in the 1st round. So they don't take a wide receiver at 12. We get, as the draft's moving along, we're almost at the end of night 1. The Eagles are on the board with the 37th overall pick. So what would that be? The 5th pick or so, 33, 34, 35, 36, 5th pick in the 2nd round. So instead of waiting and hoping a wide receiver they like that's still there at the end of the 1st round falls through the end of the 1st round and into the beginning of the 2nd on night 2, how about this one? Eagles trade Zach Ertz and the number 37 overall pick, and they get back the number 30 from the Bills. So the Bills move out of the 1st round. Eagles move back into the 1st round, which gives you the advantage of having the 5th-year option on the contract. Boom. Ertz to Buffalo. Eagles swap 37 for 30. They're back in the 1st round, and they get a receiver they like. I don't know, Rashad Bateman, Minnesota, Kadarius Toney of Florida, who I like. One of those kind of guys. You bring him in, and you get your receiver there instead of getting the receiver at number 20. Eli said, go get Surtain, please. Please, Surtain's going to be a good player. If I had to choose, I like Horn better, but I'd have no problems if Patrick Surtain arrives here on Thursday night. Ryan said pass, so he's out on Justin Fields. Aniel, no to Justin Fields. Art said, it's going to be at Horn at 12 unless they trade up to 8 with the Panthers and take Waddle. So I was giving my mock draft earlier, and the way I view it right now is I would go Lawrence, Jaguars, Wilson, Jets, let's say Lance or Jones to the Niners, whoever quarterback they take, Pitts to the Falcons, Chase to the Bengals. I think Miami's going to take Waddle. I think Waddle's going to be the 2nd wide receiver off the board, and I could see him being ahead of Devontae Smith and go to Miami. So, look, if Waddle falls, I could see the Eagles really liking him. He's explosive, take the top off the defense. Like, he's the kind of receiver Howie Roseman and the Eagles like. And I'll throw this nugget out there for you. I heard, I guess about 2 months ago, Jalen Hurts was on Adam Schefter's podcast. And it was right after they traded Carson Wentz. So that might have been the reason they kind of tied the whole thing together. And, we got Jalen Hurts now, the new quarterback of the Eagles, and blah, blah, blah. But he was on there, and Schefter was kind of throwing stuff at him. And one of the things was, if you had to name one player that you played with in college, either at Alabama or Oklahoma, that's going to have the best pro career, who would it be? And I thought it was an interesting question because Jalen Hurts played with a lot of really good football players, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, skill guys, running backs, receivers, at both schools, right? He played, who knows? But Jalen Hurts in his time in college football, maybe he played with 25 future pros, depending on where and when he crossed paths with them. A lot of guys. His answer was Jalen Waddle. I'm not trying to say that that's going to influence the Eagles' thinking at all or what they're going to do. Like, they're going to do their thing, and I doubt a quarterback they haven't really committed to is going to have sway over their draft. But that's just interesting. If they do end up with Waddle, or if Waddle falls down the board and they go get him, that Jalen Hurts said Waddle is going to be the best pro of any guy he played with. Let's talk to Mark. I'm taking a call. Mark said, Giglio, it's Sledgehammer. Mark the Sledgehammer, great caller. If they don't get Pitts, they have to take Surtain. Slay needs help on the other side, and Maddox goes back to slot. Well, I agree on corner. Now, I like Horn, too, but Surtain, the point you're making, we're in agreement on. They need a corner. And it's not just a short-term need, it's a long-term need. Like, if you were to close your eyes and picture next year's Eagles, 2022, or the 2023 Eagles, who's playing corner? Like, let's just be real about it. Darius Slay last year was not very good. He wasn't. I'm not saying he was bad. I'm not saying I want him cut. He wasn't very good. He's obviously in decline from the star he was in Detroit. He's not that guy anymore. He's good. Like, you could play him. You could start him. He might actually play okay or good. But, I mean, quarterbacks went after him a lot. So he's on the decline. Whether it's 1 or 2 more years of good and maybe plateaus a little bit, that's it. The other side is a complete disaster. They have nothing over there. Avonte Maddox is not an outside corner. We've known this now for a while. They need a guy. And think about this division. This division is loaded at wide receiver. So Surtain, Horn, get one of them in here because think about this division right now. It's Amari Cooper. It's Michael Gallup. It is CeeDee Lamb. It's Terry McLaurin. It's Curtis Samuel. It's Kenny Golladay. In fact, the Giants might take one of these receivers at 11, just adding to the mix. It's a loaded division in terms of wide receivers. So, yeah, they got to get someone. They got to get some. Joe said, "Where's your hair, Joe?" Shaved it off. It's gone. I've been going bald, so I don't like that. I don't like the kind of like the bald spot in the back. Took it right off. Gordon said Jalen. I guess that means he's on board with Jalen Hurts as the guy and not going after Justin Fields. Antonio said, I would argue he could have been better if the scheme wasn't so terrible under Schwartz. I don't know. I mean, he's supposed to be a star corner. Like, you lined up against a guy one-on-one in the red zone, you got to cover him. I mean, I don't know what Jim Schwartz is supposed to do there. And they got Darius Slay because he's supposed to be able to take out the number 1 wide receiver, so Schwartz or anybody else might be able to give a little help to other guys. I mean, I just saw Roethlisberger and Rodgers and Wilson. They just picked on him. So I was disappointed in Slay's first year. I know he was a little banged up towards the second half of the season, but he's got to be better. But he needs help on the other side. I mean, there's no question. He could be better, I think, if he has help on the other side. Mylan said, do you like Waddle? I do like Waddle. I think if they had Jalen Waddle and Jalen Reagor on one side, first of all the Jalens, right? Reagor, Waddle, Hurts, that would be explosive. Like, I think that's going to take the top off the defense. And I've been saying for a long time that if you're going to build an offense around Jalen Hurts, and I think you can build a good, productive winning offense with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. But here's what you need to do. Look at how the Ravens have built their offense. The formula's there. Okay, so I think there's some similarities between Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen throws a little more touch, a little better deep ball. He's not quite as fast of a runner, but he's a good runner, and he's a stronger runner. But they're, I think, similar kind of games where their accuracy isn't perfect, but I think you can win, and you could, if you scheme it the right way, you could do it. And what they've done in Baltimore is they put backs around him, right? RPOs, a bunch of different running backs they rotate in. They put tight ends over the middle, big physical tight ends over the middle. That could be a Pitts if they got him, but certainly Goddard's here. And they put speed on the outside. So it's kind of like that play action RPO. Boom, first read, over the middle tight ends. They open? No. Look down the field and let, Lamar or Jalen throw the ball. And obviously sometimes it's a run play or whatever, but that's kind of the offense. So to go back to Jalen Waddle, I think he fits perfectly if they're going to go receiver in the first round because you have Reagor on one side, you put Waddle on the other, and I think, boom, you have the speed on the outside to where Hurts could pull it back. If he doesn't want to give it off to the running back, he could run himself, or he could, bomb it down the field. And last year, over 13 yards per completion. It was the highest for Jalen Hurts last year, had the highest completion yards per completion of any rookie quarterback since 2009. And think about the quarterback since '09. Cam Newton and Matthew Stafford. I mean, there's been some good quarterbacks that have come in the league. Highest yards per completion, any rookie quarterback since '09, Jalen Hurts last year. So when he threw it, it typically, he took shots down the field. Remember Rager in his first game, the Greg Ward touchdown in his first game, the shot to Deshaun Jackson in the Dallas game. He was not afraid of throwing it down the field to deep threats and speed. So get him another guy. I do like Jalen Waddle. Mylon said, who's your pick at 12? I would go J.C. Horn. He's my guy. I think he's just going to be a star corner in the NFL and could be a physical corner, which they haven't had around here that could really play in a long time. Alex said, does Smith's size concern you? We'd have two very small receivers in Rager and Smith. They picked him. It terrifies me. I'm going to be honest. And as you guys can see, I'm not a big man, right? I'm just about 6 foot tall, like 155 pounds. I am not a big person. Anyone that could look at someone my stature and say, yeah, you might be able to play in the NFL, you'd laugh at that. Like, when you look at Devontae Smith, he's not that much bigger than me. He maybe has me by a quarter of an inch. And weight, he has me by about 11 pounds. He weighed at 166. NFL wide receiver, 166. I'm just thinking about, like, they're playing the Rams, right? A playoff game 2 years from now or whatever. Just, I know playoffs in the Eagles right now, it seems silly, but just do it for a second. Pretend. And it's Jalen Ramsey, 195, 200 of muscle, pressing him at the line of scrimmage. Is he going to get off that press? I don't know. And I never looked at Devontae Smith as a speed demon. Great route runner, great hands, great, ability to get open in traffic. But if you're not taking the top off a defense and you're not overly physical and you get pushed around a little bit, I do worry. Devontae Smith's size worries the heck out of him. Mitch said, what has Hurts done, not done for us not to name him the starter or to at least say he is here? Why don't we want Hurts as the starter? I think they do. I think the Hurts stuff has been overblown. I think they are doing this. I have a couple thoughts. One, I think the Eagles don't want to commit to a quarterback. I think they're a little gun shy after the whole Wentz thing. I mean, they jumped into marriage with Carson Wentz. They talked about it. And I think it's kind of the natural, hey, we have the tough guy coach. Now we're going to bring in the players coach. Like, it's that ebb and flow of sports. And I think it's the natural overcorrection of, hey, this time we're going to take it easy and not commit to our quarterback after last time they fell head over heels for a quarterback. The other thing is, look, Jalen Hurts, I'm a big fan. I think he showed a lot in his 4 games. He also showed some flaws. They don't have to commit. Let him earn it. And I think if you let a new coach come in and preach competition, I think if you can use the quarterback as kind of the biggest part of that, I think it sets up well for the rest of the locker room. Because if you're going to preach competition and then you just say this guy who's played 4 games and was up and down, he's definitely my starting quarterback, I don't know if that plays well in the locker room. So the last quarterback, locker room issues, I think you can start this one off on the right foot. Let me take one more. Joe, if you had both Waddle and Surtain on the board, who would be your pick? Surtain. I would go with the corner out of Alabama. And Rika said, Rager isn't that small. He's 5'11", 205. That's true. Like 166 and 205, 40 pounds is a big difference. It is a big, big difference. All right, listen. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to do another one of these tomorrow night and then another one of these on Wednesday night as we get ready for the draft. And don't forget, please tune in, smart speaker, you're streaming on the Odyssey app, or you're in the car, draft night. We're doing a draft spectacular. Myself, Glenn Macnow, Ike Reese, Elliot Shore-Parks, Howard Eskin. We're going to be on the air from 6 o'clock, previewing things, getting ready, all the way through the Eagles pick, and we're going to stay on for a couple segments after the Eagles pick. Whether they move up, they move back, they stay at 12, whatever, we'll be there. It's a Phillies day game, so we will have all night, no Phillies game on the air. It'll be all Eagles drafts talk. Tune in, stream us. Draft's the best. And the Eagles got to hit this one out of the park. Thank you guys so much for watching the draft show here. Go get J.C. Horn. Yes, Smith's size worries me. And no, I'm not trading up for Justin Fields. Hopefully, the Eagles are watching. Howie, if you're watching. Thanks, guys, for